Between 1960 and 1988, the Soviet Union launched 19 missions to Mars. Most of them failed. Some failed on the launch pad. Some failed in orbit. Some reached Mars and then went completely silent. Forever. And the world never knew, because the Soviets never told anyone. This is the story of the most ambitious and most secret space program in history. A program so catastrophic that Soviet scientists began to believe Mars was actively destroying their spacecraft. They called it the Mars Curse. And to this day, no one has fully explained why it keeps happening. What you are about to see has been hidden in classified Soviet archives for decades. This is the real story of how the USSR tried to conquer Mars and what Mars did to them every single time. October 10th, 1960, Baikonur Cosmodrome. The first Soviet Mars probe stands fueled and ready, perched on the edge of history and disaster. In the control bunker, engineers watch the readouts, their names erased from the record by orders from above. The world never knew what happened next. A single valve, V23, deep inside the Block E upper stage, sticks at the worst possible moment. Telemetry spikes, pressure drops. The abort command fires, but it's too late. The R-7 rocket shudders. At 12 kilometers, tumbling out of control, the range safety system detonates the entire stack. Burning debris rains across the Kazakh steppe. No one dies, but the probe is vaporized. The pad is scarred, the air thick with vaporized oxygen and kerosene. Within hours, the phone lines crackle with orders from Glavlit, the Soviet censorship directorate. Every log, every photograph, every word is stamped classified for decades. The Politburo meets behind closed doors. Pravda prints a single line about routine testing. Regional papers run headlines about upcoming planetary launches. The real story is buried deeper than the crater left by the explosion. The incident is erased from the public record, sealed in archives, hidden even from most Soviet scientists. Only a handful of men know the truth, and they never told anyone. Over the next 13 years, 12 more Soviet rockets are rolled to the pad, each one aimed at Mars. 8 are lost before even reaching the red planet. Some explode in fireballs, some vanish in the silence of space. Each time, the same machinery of secrecy grinds into motion. Reports are locked away. Failures are renamed test anomalies. Success is announced only when there is something to show the world. The pattern is set. The Soviet Mars program is haunted not just by technical risk, but by a system built to conceal disaster. The silence is broken, briefly, in 1962. Mars 1 escapes Earth's gravity and sails into the void. For 5 months, it drifts farther from home, 106 million kilometers, before its signal fades to nothing. The probe is lost in the darkness, its last telemetry vanishing into static. Official statements speak of successful interplanetary operations. The world never hears about the lonely probe drifting forever between the planets, its fate classified for decades. From the very first step, the Soviet path to Mars is paved with secrets, disasters, and vanished machines. Each failure is hidden behind layers of censorship and propaganda. The true scale of catastrophe remains invisible, a secret Cold War campaign haunted by silence and loss. 12 launches, 8 failures before a single Soviet machine even glimpsed Mars. The numbers alone read like a curse. Between 1960 and 1973, the Red Planet devoured Soviet rockets and hopes with chilling efficiency. Each lost probe meant another round of classified reports, another false headline in Pravda, another set of names erased from the record. The world never knew how many times the Soviet Mars program was brought to its knees before it even began to crawl. 1971. The Soviets prepare their boldest strike. Mars 2 and Mars 3, twin missions, each armed with an orbiter and a lander. On paper, the design is flawless. In reality, the planet is waiting. Mars 2's descent module hits the atmosphere at the wrong angle. The onboard computer, running a rushed patch to its software, triggers the retro rocket too late. Instead of slowing, the lander slams into the surface at over 150 meters per second. The impact is total. The craft is destroyed, scattered across Martian dust. Soviet headlines call it the first ever landing on Mars. The truth, buried in a classified after-action report, reads, "No telemetry after entry. Lander presumed lost on impact. Engineers, forbidden from speaking, record only a single line in a private diary." Mars does not forgive mistakes. Mars 3 follows, its twin. The descent is smoother. Against all odds, the lander survives touchdown. For the first time, a human machine sits on the surface of Mars. A signal bursts through the static. 20 seconds of life. Just enough time for a data packet, a pressure reading, a temperature, a flicker of magnetometer data, and a single TV frame. What comes through is nothing but gray snow, lines, and speckles. Some claim to see shapes in the noise, impossible patterns still unexplained. Then silence. The transmission dies. No recovery, no second chance. The official story, a triumph. The classified file reads, "Signal lost after 20 seconds. Suspected dust storm or power failure. 12 launches, 8 failures, 2 landers, 1 crash, 1 whisper." The engineers start to talk in secret about a curse. Not in public, not in print. Only in the margins of notebooks. Each time we approach the red planet, something new goes wrong. As if the planet itself is watching. The world never heard these words. They never told anyone. But the numbers kept climbing, and the failures kept coming. The Mars curse was only just beginning. Half of all Mars missions vanish or fail. It is not a myth. It is a number stamped in declassified tables and whispered through the halls of every space agency. The global failure rate is nearly 50%. For the Soviets, it is worse. Out of 45 attempts, 24 end in silence or fire. The official records, once forbidden, read like a ledger of vanished dreams. The world never knew the real odds. Engineers at OKB-1 pass around a battered memo, failure rate tables, rows of lost probes, columns of missing data. They start to talk, quietly, about a curse. Not in public, never on paper. Only in the margins. Mars does not forgive mistakes. Superstition grows in the shadows of classified disaster. But the curse is not just numbers. In 1988, it becomes a person. Phobos 1, the pride of the late Soviet program, is days from Mars. The mission costs hundreds of millions. Then a single keystroke, one wrong command, dooms the spacecraft. The mistake comes from the ground, not the void. A junior engineer, Mikhail P. Sokolov, uploads a command meant to recalibrate the attitude control. Instead, it disables the system entirely. The probe drifts, Solar panels turning away from the sun. Power drains. Telemetry fades. The world never hears a word. The error is buried in an internal memo, classified for decades. Sokolov is reassigned, his name erased from mission control. Phobos 1 is lost, not to cosmic radiation or Martian dust, but to a moment of human fallibility, a typo that cost the Soviet Union its last, best shot. The curse, it turns out, has a face and a file number. March 1989. Phobos 2 is closing in on its target, the battered moon of Mars. After years of vanished rockets and silenced transmitters, the Soviets have one last shot to break the curse. For weeks, Phobos 2 relays images and data until a final transmission arrives. The last image, classified for over a decade, shows Phobos casting a shadow across the Martian surface. But the shadow is wrong. Stretched, distorted, 30% longer than physics allows. No known feature matches it. No known malfunction explains it. The world never saw this picture until the Soviet Union was gone. Viktor Aksionov, chief flight director, writes a single line in his private archive. The linear shadow does not correspond to any known topography. Further analysis is required before public release. Then, silence. Telemetry fades. Every channel goes dead. The probe is lost. No answers. Only a classified image and a mystery that outlived the regime that created it. The story does not end with the Soviet Union. In 2003, Japan's Nozomi probe is crippled by a solar flare. Its circuits fried, lost before it can even try for orbit. In 2016, Europe's Schiaparelli lander crashes to the surface after a software error tricks its computer into shutting off the engines too soon. Each time, new technology, new hopes, and the same result. The world never knew how many times Mars has devoured its visitors. The numbers keep growing. The failures are no longer hidden, but the pattern remains. As Aksionov once whispered to his team, Mars does not forgive mistakes. And the curse, still unexplained, survives the Cold War. The world never knew, classified for decades. Each lost probe remains unexplained. Even now, Mars claims half the missions sent its way, and silence remains the planet's answer. The Soviets hid their failures, and today, space agencies just hope for better odds. But the real secret? Mars keeps its own.